Please.
Thank you, sir.
Utkarsh, you are from Indore or from Sultanpur?
Sir, I was born in Sultanpur. So my father is posted in Indore.
Where is he posted?
Sir, Indore.
What post is he on?
Sir, he's senior manager in the Parle Products, the biscuit company.
Parley product. Okay, in the private sector.
Yes,
Okay. One of your hobbies is the only hobby of yours is reading non-fiction and writing reviews. So which is the last review you wrote?
Sir, I read a book on the new Cold War, which was about Henry Kissinger's visit to China in 1971. So I had reviewed that, sir.
And where was it published?
Sir, it was published by HarperCollins.
HarperCollins is not doesn't publish reviews.
So my review, sorry, sir, I thought
He asked
Your
you about
review.
your review.
Where was your review published?
sir, on my blog, sir.
On your blog.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you heard of a book called Population Myth, Islam, Family Planning and Politics in India?
Yes, sir, I have.
Who wrote that book?
So you have written that book.
Very good. Have you read it?
Sir, I have not read
Would
it.
you like to read it? When is your interview?
Sir, 20th April.
20th April. After that, after you finish your interview, try and read the book and write the review in your blog and let me know
Yes, sir.
through these people. Okay?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you heard of my earlier book on elections?
Yes, sir. It was about Election Commission of India.
Yes.
Wonder. The title had the word wonder, but I'm not able to recall the exact title.
An undocumented wonder,
Yes, sir.
the making of the great Indian election.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, that's a very interesting and creative hobby. So how many reviews have you written? Several?
Sir, around 10 to 15 reviews
10
I
to
have
15.
written. Yes.
On your blog, so publishing them anywhere is not your problem. You
Yes, sir. I have
Okay.
written.
very nice.
How long have you stayed in Indore? You have studied in Vellore.
Yes, sir.
So how long of your, what part of your life has been spent in Indore?
Sir, 3 years during my school days in 11th, 12th, and when I was.
And your
prepared.
father is in Pitampura or in Indore?
Sir, in Indore.
So the Parle factory is in Indore?
Yes, sir.
Or is he with the corporate office?
No, sir. He is in the contracted manufacturing division.
All right. Can you tell me something about Vellore?
Sir, it is a city near to Chennai, and it has a historical significance because before the 1857 revolt, there was one Vellore mutiny in 1806. So that was done under the banner of the Mysore rulers by the sons of Tipu Sultan, and it had also causes similar to what happened in 1857, sir. About the sepoys, the Muslims were not allowed to keep a bed, and Hindus were not allowed to wear some religious symbols. So, but it was eventually brought down to an end. And so it has the famous Christian Medical College.
All right. But the engineering college is not as famous as the medical college.
Sir, both are famous, but the medical college is around 80 years older than the engineering college.
So fair enough. It has the first moving advantage.
Yes, sir.
You have appeared for this examination twice and you have qualified for interview both the times.
Thrice.
Yes, sir.
Thrice and you have made it to the interview twice. Is that right, or thrice? All the 3 times you have
Sir,
made
all
it?
the 3
This,
times.
this is
sir.
the third time, no?
Excellent. This time, present time counted.
Correct.
I keep
All
making that
3
mistake.
times you appeared for the interview.
Yes, sir, twice, and this is the 3rd time, sir.
Oh.
Tell me, what have been the marks awarded to you in the past 2 interviews?
Sir, in 2019, I was awarded 160, and in 2020, I was awarded 157.
Almost at par.
Yes, sir.
So this year we hope you do much better. Tell me, you have opted for your international relations, political science and international relations as your optional. International relations, I will leave my colleagues, to honorable colleagues, to question you on. But on the political science part of it, the syllabus covers a very wide gamut. It covers political philosophy, it covers principles. Can you tell me something about separation of powers?
Sir, it was given by Montesquieu in the Spirit of Laws. And sir, it talks about how the institutions of a state must have principal distance among them so that each can exercise checks and balances against the other.
Would you say that in contemporary India, the concept of separation of powers or the doctrine of separation of powers as enshrined in the Indian Constitution is intact, or is it being eroded? I'll give you a specific example. When the law minister makes a statement that the judiciary and legislature should work in tandem synergistically, what remains then? of separation of powers?
Sir, I would say when it comes to checks and balances, I would say the autonomy is not eroded. Sir, but when the Honorable Law Minister says that the judiciary and the executive must work in tandem, so I think he is talking about taking the nation forward as a whole, because since all the three are arms of the state and they have to work in
No, but
coordination.
wouldn't it seriously jeopardize the concept of separation of powers in checks and balances if on the ground of taking the nation forward, you undo the constitution?
Sir, I would say the concept of separation of powers is applied differently in India, because sir, in the United States we see there is actually separation of powers.
I will state my case, limit my case only to India. Since the constitution was adopted, till almost a couple of years back, the system seemed to be working fairly well. It was under pressure during emergency. Some institutions had buckled down. But right now what is happening to me appears to be as a systematic subversion of the constitution. I'm entitled to my view, you are entitled to your view. So I would only leave it at that. I'll pass it on to
Just 1 second, yeah. The two should work in tandem. Was it said by the law minister or by the Chief Justice of India?
Sir, I'm not sure.
It was just Chief Justice Bobde who said this, because it is law minister's wish all the time anyway.
Yes,
But
sir.
a Chief Justice saying it, oh, these are emergency circumstances and we should work in tandem. Now that is the most dangerous statement.
You know, these blogs that you mentioned, which is a very commendable thing, you know, reading a book, then writing a review. And I say it's commendable because then when you read, you also tell yourself, I'm going to put pen to paper, beg your pardon, in order to critically analyze. So how long have you been doing this blogging part? How long? Has it been 1 year, 2 years?
Sir, I started this after 2019 mains, which was around, sir, I would say October 2019.
All right. So is it therefore, is it safe for me to assume it is linked to your service aspirations, that you're reading books and then you're critically reviewing it? So it's part and parcel of your own system of preparing. Would that be correct?
Sir, I would agree to it to a certain extent,
Alright.
sir.
Yeah, what does to a certain extent mean?
Sir, I would say I like doing it. So, sir, even if I...
Okay, so you like doing it as well.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me, you've done about what? What did you say, 18 books, 19?
Yes,
how-
around 15 books. I have.
15 books.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, what are these books on? You've mentioned one. What are the others on?
Sir, they are mostly non-fictions.
No, you said your focus is non-fiction.
Yes, sir.
So, it's not mostly.
Just give us a few
It is
titles.
only non-fiction, right?
Sir, like I've recently I've read Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. And sir, the other books are like Shiksha by Shri Manish Sisodia. Sir, it was about the education in Delhi government schools. Or sir, I have read recently about Tiananmen Square protest, which was written by Shri Vijay Gokhale. Sir, I have read Bihar Diaries by Shri Amit Lodha. Sir, he has written his experience as an IPS in Bihar.
Okay. So, looking at these 15, maybe 20 books that are there, and I'm sure there'll be more that will come, which book stands out for you? If it's a difficult choice. I'm just telling you that if you were to choose one book, which one would stand out? One book for discussion.
Okay. Sir, I would say I had read When Crime Pays by Milan Vaishnav. Sir, it is about increasing criminalization of politics in India. So I like that book really.
What is the name of the book?
Milan Vaishnav's
When Crime Pays. When Crime Pays.
When Crime Pays.
So can you tell me about the book and what you liked about, and I'm sure you would have reviewed it.
Yes, sir.
What was your critical analysis of the book?
Sir, the one thing that was very much appealing to me was it was very detailed book. And sir, I had written in the blog that it looked less of a book and more of a research paper spanning 300 pages. Because sir, he has used lot of data to corroborate his facts. And then he has also spent time with many politicians in their campaigns.
What's the core thesis of the book? Facts are only used to corroborate a thesis, right?
Yes, sir.
Or facts might lead to a thesis. So what is his thesis?
Sir, his main thesis is why the criminalization is increasing in
Why that?
politics. Why the criminalization is increasing in politics. So, sir, he gives a market model. He says there is a marketplace in which there is supply of criminals and there is demand for criminals. So, sir, he says that the elections are getting very expensive. So, even now the political parties are looking for people who can self-finance themselves and also bring some money to the party coffers. And so these are also, say, caste leaders. They are strong local goons. So there is this image of Bahubali, which adds to an advantage in local elections. And so he also points out that one other reason is the shortcomings in the state administrative machinery. Because many times when the schemes are not implemented in the far-fetched areas, it is these people who run their kangaroo courts or they give money for medical expenses, marriages. So they become the local god of that place and they eventually win the elections.
So you subscribe to this thesis, or you have disagreements with certain portions?
Sir, mostly I subscribe to it because, sir, when we look at the evidence, the
Fine. So my final two questions related to this. Should people with a criminal record be allowed or debarred from participating in elections? Question one. Question two is, as a civil servant, if you are having to deal with a neta who you know is essentially a thug, how will you deal with it? These are the two questions.
Sir, my opinion is to not allow people with criminal antecedents. But, sir, there has to be a caveat because there is a lot of revenge politics also that plays out. There are many false cases filed. So, having said that, I would say there should be some caveats that if a case is registered against somebody, it should be, say, before 1 year or 6 months before the election. And so, coming to the second part of your question, so I
No,
would
I
say,
didn't understand this. I mean, I don't want to push you too much.
yes, sir.
You are the district magistrate and you decide to take action against a very powerful, for want of a better English word, I'm saying gangster, right? Who has incredible sway because he is a money lender, he's everything. Are you saying false case means that gangster goes and files a false case against you of, let's say, I don't know, rape, sexual molestation, bribe, taking bribe? Is that what you're saying?
Sir, I mean something else. Sir, what I mean is if there are two candidates and if we implement the suggestion that I am saying, then one candidate may file a false case against the other.
Acha, okay. All right.
So,
Okay. That should have been filed at least a year in advance of the election.
Yeah.
and so coming to the second part, so I would say even if the politician has a record of criminalization, sir, as a civil servant, I will have to comply with his orders, but those orders must be lawful. And so I cannot comply with unlawful orders.
Okay, Utkarsh, in your blog, The World Through My Eyes, you have reviewed A New Cold War,
Yes, sir.
which is basically a series of articles which
Yes,
have
sir.
been edited by Sanjay Baru on the so-called New Cold War between China and the United States.
Yes, sir.
Correct? But is there a new Cold War brewing now between Russia and the West?
Sir, there are certain traces of it. It was brewing out before Russia actually invaded Ukraine. Now, sir, I would say it is a somewhat hot war.
You are using the word invaded, at least you're not saying special military operation by being politically correct, right?
Sir, it was called a special military operation by Vladimir Putin.
But you are calling
But
it
you have information now that you can make a judgment on this case at
and you
least.
can say it's an invasion.
Sir, it appeared like invasion because, sir, he has violated a nation's territorial integrity
Says
without
who?
its permission.
Says who? Does the government of India say that?
No, sir.
Okay. So you can take a position which is not part of the government's line.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please, sorry, I interrupted.
So, sir, I think it pertains to the whole security architecture of Europe, which was at the middle of at the center of the Cold War when USSR and US were there. So some traces of a new Cold War brewing between Russia and US are there, and that is also aligned to the Cold War that is now brewing between USA and China. And so the Sino-Russian axis is what USA somewhat fears. And even we have apprehensions about China and Russia coming together. So
But China and Russia are already together. I mean, what is this coming together? I mean, China and Russia, you remember after the Winter Olympics, the visit of President Putin,
yes, sir.
and they signed a 5,000 word document calling their friendship, higher than the mountains and whatnot. No limits.
Yes, sir.
So they're already together.
Yes, sir. They are together, I think, when they are confronting United States. But sir, with India, I would still not say that they are together against India. Yeah, even if China has its tensions with India, but even during Galwan clash, even though China said that you should not help India, but sir, Russians were supplying us with the military parts.
So this new Cold War between the West and Russia, how will it impact India?
Sir, it is impacting in a positive way, sir. I would say that India's diplomatic profile is rising because in the last few days, sir, we see.
So this is good news for us that lots of visitors are coming and asking India to not be a swing state and join one camp or the other. It's good news for us. So having a Cold War is good for us.
Sir, they are coming to India because I think they consider India as an important player in this whole event. So, and sir, secondly, I would say a negative impact is that now we have to do a lot more tightrope walking, sir, between both the nations. Because for us, both the sides of the bread are buttered. So we cannot alienate one against the other. And it is not directly impacting us, even though we are seeing that the crude oil prices and other exports like fertilizers are impacted. But sir, I think that is a short-term phenomena. But sir, when we look at the long term, our main issue is the rise of China, because that is at our border. And when it will rise, sir, I think we will have to see how USA.
So China has not yet risen? You think China is still an emerging country?
Sir, it is rising, but I will still not say that it is at par with the United States.
No, nobody's talking about at par. I mean, if you are talking about a new Cold War, then the G2 are USA and China, because the old Cold War was between the Soviet Union and the United States,
Yes.
which means the USA considers China, as its equal. Otherwise, why would it be a rival?
Yes, sir. Sir, but still I would say that USA wouldn't want China to rise and challenge US hegemony. Or what it might try to do is to divide spheres of influence. And even in that case, it will be not beneficial to India. Because then sir, China would want Asia and East Asian region and South Asian region to be.
So, rivalry between USA and China is also not in India's interest. That's what you appear to be saying.
Sir, the concept of G2, in which if the US tries to accommodate China, will not be in India's interest.
No, here I'm talking about a Cold War.
Yes, sir.
G2 meant that there were two poles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I did not mean a G2 that, there's now a group of
Yes.
USA and China together. Obviously, G2 meant the two poles of the world.
Yes, sir.
So, but this is a very interesting point you have just made,
Yes,
that
sir.
if USA's rivalry with China increases, then that's bad for India. I thought that's good for India.
Sir, what is happening is because, sir, China looks at India through the prism of West. And sir, it has been doing it since India's independence, since India was the successor state of British Raj. So even at that time, the mistrust was there. So what it sees is that India is one of the members of the Western camp, and it is there to.
No, but you said since independence, China has been looking at us through the prism of the West.
Yes, sir.
That we were seen as a British protege or what?
Sir, I
Britain
would
did
say-
not support us in the United Nations Security Council when the Kashmir issue was taken there.
Yes, sir.
So on what basis are you saying, we were officially non-aligned during the Cold War. So how was China looking at us through the prism of the West?
Sir, the one core issue was the territorial issue, because we had inherited the Simla Agreement with respect to Tibet. So,
Shimla agreement with respect to Tibet?
sir, the 1912 Simla Accords between
Okay, that
Tibet.
one, okay.
So, since we were quite satisfied with the McMahon line, but that was not the case with China. So, that apprehension regarding India might support Tibetans in their independence against China, or in the northeast frontier, or in the Aksai Chin region.
But we accepted the one China policy.
Yes, sir. Finally, we accepted the one China policy. And sir, initially we did to pacify certain apprehensions of Chinese. So we also gave the Panchsheel Treaty, and sir, Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai slogan was also given. But sir, I think the Chinese were still apprehensive, and then we saw the 1962 war.
I think I'll stop here. We've gone on for too long.
I think Utkarsh.
But I'm not convinced with your
No,
answers at
and
all.
I
on
think,
the
you know,
individual.
I'm sorry, I not only not convinced, you came and made a very good initial impression. But I think after that has been all downhill, if I may put it bluntly. You, in the end of this interaction, appear to be as a person who's deeply flawed morally. I think you would be, the impression you give is that once in civil service, you would be more than pliant, you would have no spine, you would have no knees, you would no stomach. And you would do anything to please and find a reason. I think you are contorting yourself and tying yourself into knots, trying to justify the morality of an absolutely indefensible case, not one, but two, which the honorable member brought to your notice. And the same, by the same logic, you can try to defend the line where you say that you don't have any special information on Ukraine or Russia either. But on that, the same media can be enough to pass a judgment. The way you are talking about China is talking through the hat. I mean, when you say the phrase, China has since independence looked at India through Western prism, what is the Western prism? The Western prism did not see India in the light that China did. Is absurd. I mean, it is bordering on absurdity. So I don't know. I mean, there are two gentlemen who are professional diplomats. I've only taught the subject. But I think all three of us would be totally flummoxed by a proposition like this. And then you are getting into your blogs and saying China-Russia rivalry would also be, proximity would be bad. China-America rivalry would be bad. You are just brandishing some words without having gone through at all. So I don't know what to do. When is your interview?
Sir, 20th April.
20th.
I mean, his last parting words were, I give up. And I think he said, I must stop here. I think is a very confused presentation. I would request the chairperson to tell you how best to do damage control.
Yes.
There are two things we advise everyone. So first of all, your dress is very good, except that your shoes should be black
Yes, sir.
and no pink shirt,
Sir, I will wear a white shirt.
white shirt,
Yes,
and also not such a bright red tie.
Yes, a blue tie.
Blue tie will be fine. So otherwise, you are very pleasant. Don't forget to shave.
Yes, sir.
Right, you started very well. Just watch the interview and see where you went wrong and why.
Yes.
Because in 7 days you have to take course correction.
Yes, sir.
So do that. Two things which we advise everyone may be useful for you also. That every question which was asked was from DAF only.
Yes, sir.
So pick up the DAF and sit on it for a couple of hours to identify potential questions, as many as you can, because any word can lead you to many questions, about 100 questions or so, and find the answer. Secondly, which newspaper do you read?
Sir, I read 3 or 4 papers, sir, like Hindu, Express, Mint, and the Times of India.
Yeah, they're all a good combination. Do you take notes from the newspapers?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because you in any case are good in writing, write your blogs and you write reviews. So at least 5 items, but in fact now since you have only 8 days, 7 items a day you pick up from these 4 papers and make your note. 1 item, one page.
Yes,
if that is not how you are doing it already. So that will bring you up to date. And also where you were found wanting.
Yes.
So there must have been very detailed articles and particularly in Indian Express. You read those articles on Russia, Ukraine, China. So you will find a lot of material. So not only the newspapers for the next 7 days, but you may like to do some back referencing also. Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any question?
No, sir. I will look at the interview and I'll work
I
on the
think
areas.
you are a bright person. You should be able to see where it went wrong.
Yes, sir. I
You
will
came
try.
in and the impression created was
I
very,
think your
very
worry
good.
was that you didn't want to go against any government policy, correct?
Sir, my actual worry was since what happens actually in the ground and what is actually reported in the media, somewhat there is a gap. So if the decision is taken on the ground, there must be some factors which I am not aware of as person outside the
There is
administration.
no factor in the world which can justify cremating a young raped girl's body,
Yes, sir.
without due process.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
May I also suggest one thing? While Sanjay Baru is a very fine human being and an old friend and stuff like that, if you want to read people like Shyam Saran.
Yes, sir.
You know, if this is a subject which is outside your jurisdiction and you want to read people like Shyam Saran, Shankar Menon,
Yes.
You know, read people like my colleague over here.
Yes.
Go to the MEA website. There is a Distinguished Ambassadors series. Read that, but and try and assimilate as much as you can. You have very few days, but you are very intelligent. You know, so
It should not be
I'm sure
difficult for you to course correct.
Yes, sir. I will try my best, sir.
Thank you. Good
Thank
luck.
you,
to you.
sir.
All the best.
Thank
Utkarsh.
you.
Thank you, sir.